Please stand for our national anthem. And they're off. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to beautiful Belmont Park, and it's another delightful day. Mostly sunny skies, the temperature will be in the mid-60s. Main track is fast, the turf courses are firm, and we're using all of the widener and the inner. The portable rails are down. And we have a jackpot carryover in the Empire 6. The carryover stands at $305,991. Here now the changes for today's 10-race card. First race, scratch the 4, Bella Domenica. Scratch number 4. In the second race, scratch the main track onlys, 11 Kingfish, 12 Mr. Fidget, and 13 open lengths. Scratch 11, 12, and 13 out of the second. There are no changes in the third. In the fourth race, scratch 1, Vincero, 8, Joe's Smoking Gun, and 11, Flowers for Lisa. Scratch 1, 8, and 11. Race 5 starts the Empire 6. No changes there. Sixth race, scratch the also eligibles. 13, Cold Hearted Cat through the 16, Debord. Scratch 13, 14, 15, and 16 from race 6. The seventh race is the Grade 2 Miss Grillo for 2-year-old fillies. Scratch 1, Lovestruck. 2, Fifth Risk. 6, Freedom of the Press, and 7, Batia. Scratch 1, 2, 6, and 7 out of the 7th. Today's 8th race is the Grade 2 Beldame. Scratch number 3, Nona Madeline. Scratch the 3, and there'll be no show, trifecta, or superfecta wagering. The 9th race is the Grade 3 Belmont Turf Sprint. Scratch 9, Pulsate, and 10, Chateau. Scratch 9 and 10 from the 9th. And in today's 10th and final race, scratch 1, Tanner's Neck Lane. 5, Scotty. Scratch 11, Speedy Banker. 14, Ruse. 15, Noble Journey. And 16, Dust Gets in Your Eyes. Scratch 1, 5, 11, 14, 15, and 16. Main track fast, turf courses firm. Empire 6 jackpot carryover, nearly $306,000. We'll come back at 12:30 to recap the changes. First race post today is at 12:50. Up next, the Sunday edition of Talking Horses with Andy Serling and Anthony Stabile.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Talking Horses. The Big A, Anthony Stabile, joining me, Andy Serling, on a beautiful Sunday here at Belmont. How are you?
I'm good. Beautiful day. Nice way to wrap up the weekend. Lots of good action.
What did you think of the races yesterday? Any thoughts?
I thought they were pretty formful.
They were.
Yeah. I liked Complexity's effort. It was nice to see him kind of have one of those authoritative performances. And like we said yesterday, around one turn, I don't know if there are too many horses in this country. Thank you. That are as good as him. Maybe Vacoma, obviously, with a win in the car.
I don't think Vacoma was beating him yesterday.
But I don't think anybody. I don't know if anybody was beating him yesterday.
I actually think the Code of Honor. People might be disappointed the Code of Honor lost, and I'm sure his connections. Sorry you didn't win, but I think he ran a huge race, actually.
Probably his best race in a year. Maybe
one of
ever.
the better races he ever ran.
Yeah.
The race Complexity got a 110 buyer in that race, and Code of Honor a 106 buyer. It was a very, very strong effort, and we'll see if Connections choose to try two turns and then awful two-turn mile, Breeders' Cup Mile at Keeneland, or cut him back or wait for the Cigar Mile. We'll see. Code of Honor, I guess, shook his have to think, I mean, 2 turns is probably okay for him, though. He's probably better around 1 turn, 2, decide whether he goes to Classic or not. Very
I
good
would
effort
imagine
by him.
he sent him to the Classic
I
off
would
that
think you
race.
would, with so much speed in the race.
Off that
I would think that
race,
he's the right horse in the Classic.
I think you need to be encouraged.
Of course,
I know
could be a right horse, I should say.
after the Whitney and that terrible performance in the Whitney, I think the fact that he came back to life yesterday and ran as well as he, I mean, speed figure wise, it's the best race he's ever run. So
I think it ties. I think.
Well, I thought it was 105.
Really? Okay.
Anyway, we're splitting hairs. Off that effort, I think, like you said, the way the race is setting up right now, 4 weeks and 5 weeks out, off of that effort, I think you can run him. I don't know if you could have run him if he gets beat 7-8 lengths yesterday and doesn't run as well as he did, because he was chasing after Complexity the last 3/16 of a mile. Fact of the matter is, Complexity is a real racehorse, and he's no shame in not being able to beat him going a flat mile.
Complexity is a horse that when he hasn't had physical issues, he's run nothing but good races.
He could have been any kind, that
some
horse.
disasters, I agree, but seems to be over them now, so it's nice to see him racing well.
Yeah.
Gufu, I don't know how he won yesterday. Got the same trip he got in the Saratoga Derby, and he was able to overcome that horrifically bad trip
again.
again.
Going to steal your thunder a little bit here. I think the inside was pretty good yesterday on the turf. When Mo Reddy's able to take him most of the way and hold on for third, and No Word, who I don't really think wants to go that far, kind of rode the rail behind him and got second, and Gufo just came down.
Rail. You see that when the rails are good,
yep.
horses that are effective are on the rail, and we saw the same thing. I mean, I think that...
I like him more than you do, though, I think. And I thought he ran well yesterday. I do.
I know. It's not that I don't like him. I think he's a very nice horse. I thought 6-5 was a bit ridiculous on him, and I don't think I was wrong because, frankly, there were a lot of no-shows in that race. I mean, there were
a couple of interesting trips.
There were some couple of interesting rides. I mean, the Pilgrim, great ride by Kendrick, good job by him. The second horse rode the rail until angled out, but couldn't catch the slow pace. And I saw a quote from Javier Castellano, and you could feel his frustration, and I don't blame him when he said, "What am I supposed to do when there's no pace in these races?" And I would like to see our 2 biggest Breeders' Cup 2-year-old preps at a mile and 16th, the Pilgrim, the Miss Grillo, run on the Widener. And if they feel the race is being run too close to another turf stake, then move it. But the Widener is a much fairer course. It doesn't punish speed, and it certainly doesn't punish closers, whereas the Inner at a mile and a 16th is very favorable to front runners and features slow paces and can feature tricky pace scenarios. And I think the Widener is just a fairer course. And if we're going to run those races as a major prep for a Breeders' Cup races, and there aren't that many of those races around the country, we should run them on the Widener at that distance, not the Inner.
I absolutely, positively agree with you on this. I do. I do wonder.
I think it's an oversight.
I do wonder if the mentality is, and I don't even know if it's a good one.
I'm going to guess
because
there's none.
We're so close to the far turn, but the 2 turns, because the preps at Keeneland, even the preps in California, the Surfer Girl and the Zuma Beach, they're both 2 turns. I wonder if that.
No. What do I think? I think we just.
Okay.
Let me put it this way. I hear what you're saying. It's not a true 2-turn race.
It's not.
It's a race that features a funky start, a slow pace, and it can compromise closers, and it can be very harmful if you get a big field for it. Now, I know we have a smaller field with some scratches today, unfortunately, but if you get 10, it really can hurt the horses with outside posts. So there's a lot of reasons, and whereas the Widener, it just doesn't really hurt them.
No, it doesn't.
And
at the very least, even if it does, it certainly doesn't hurt them anywhere near as much as it does on the Inner.
Can I ask you a question? Is the Breeders' Cup juvenile race a mile or mile 16?
I believe they're a mile.
So why don't we run them at a mile on the Widener? Why are we going a mile and a 16th?
I believe they're a mile, which is weird because the races at Keeneland, the
mile and 30 yards. We should go.
The bourbon today, which I'm actually covering on radio later on.
That's a bourbon?
With the Joe Buntsman. I don't have any yet. Yet is the operative word.
Teasing me.
5 to 6 today. They'll be bourbon. And then the Jessamine on Wednesday, they're both running a mile and a 16th at Keeneland. So that's where they're running the Breeders' Cup, and they're running the prep.
Can I get 8 to 5 on Golden Pal in the 5.5 furlong race?
I'm not giving it to you, but if you find somebody that's willing to give it to you, please ring me.
You'll take 7 to 5.
I'll take 7 to 5.
One of the 5s. Yeah.
Ring me.
That horse will be something to 5. But it'll be a lot lower than 8.
It might be a lot more of a straight line number, like a 1.
No, maybe not a 1, but it's not going to be 8. Race number 1 here. Wow, I just got sound in my ear. This is sort of weird.
Before race number 1, though, we got to do this.
Oh, yeah, sign up. You're not a member in Ira Bets. Thanks, Ben. If you're not a member in Ira Bets, become a member in Ira Bets Sport Racing in New York. Use promo code MATCH200 and we'll match them at $200 of your initial deposit. Head over to Ira Bets Sport Racing in New York. 50-50 Lone Star in Belmont today through the app and the app only. Did you get your $30?
I haven't checked.
Was it a
There's not
single
much
digit?
more in there.
Oh, by the way, congratulations to Peter Brandt.
Yes, I
who's
was about
well
to say
represented in our stake races today. That was a great win for him with Sawsat. It's over in the yard. There was something cool about seeing Peter Brandt's green silks over in Europe. But I was on the train actually watching the race, and I was actually started rooting in the stretch.
I was running around the neighborhood for doing some errands this morning. I took a look, and I was like, oh, that's nice to see the familiar. I like to see the familiar colors winning races. Apparently, they talked to the racing manager over there after the race, asked him about the Breeders' Cup turf, and he said, I can't see why not.
Well, that would be exciting. Peter, I believe, should be here, actually. He was not at the race, and it's an issue with going over to Europe. Peter could pull off any of the ARC Miss Grillo double, the ARC Beldame double, or the coveted ARC Belmont Sprint Invitational. Peter, a big supporter of our racing here. A lot of Peter Brandt here, but you know what? I think you know what? You focus on the next race, but congratulations. That was a great win.
Congratulations.
Obviously, Enable probably didn't handle the going. She didn't look to be comfortable at any point. You could see when they turned for home, she had nothing. Race number 1. Let's look at Impassable Donna and talk about her and the horse you have on top, Munning's Muse. Why is it going to be different for Munning's Muse, who collapsed last time? And isn't Impassable Donna the horse to beat?
Yes, I believe Impassable Donna is the horse to beat. But Munning's Muse, like Impassable Donna, was coming off of a long, lengthy layoff. In fact, Munning's Muse was gone a little bit longer than Impassable Donna was, almost a month. And Munning's Muse went to the top, tired, completely, I don't want to say expected, but certainly not something I'm going to hold against her.
But why is it going to be different for Munning's Muse today?
Well, she has the race under her belt.
I picked her third, but she was.
I think that's important.
Anthony, she was awful.
Yeah, but I think it's important that she had the race under her belt.
Well, and Impassable Donna was off a long layoff too. She ran. I don't know. I'm skeptical. Maybe you're right. She'll be speed. Trainer switch. And this is a trainer switch because Gary Gullo is retired from training. I will miss Gary.
He left us.
I know. He never even stopped up on the third floor and said hi.
I saw him.
I'm a little hurt. I'll have to text him. Seen him since Saratoga. We'll see. You got a firster for Todd in the rail that worked 10 and a fifth. The 2-year-old sale, an American Pharaoh. What about Caladad, the other Bruce Levine horse, getting back to the dirt, got a turf prep. Kind of gave up on this horse, but he's not impossible. She's not impossible. I took a shot with Beautiful Karen. I know she appears to be woefully slow on paper. I think it's a little inaccurate. 2 times ago, she had a very bad start in there, and she still managed to run the 40 Beyer, and she probably could have run in the 50s. She'd run better going a mile, and I know Linda started going a mile, but she's a competitive edge. I'm not so sure she needed to go that far. And then last time out, she got involved in was a relatively torrid pace in a race where you were better off being outside, and while she was a little bit off the rail, she wasn't that far off the rail. And I think it makes some excuses for a race. And I thought she was an interesting horse off the layoff for Linda Rice, so I took a small shot at price.
Yeah, she can win. The fact that she ran this horse twice at a mile kind of bothers me, and maybe bringing her back at 6.5 is just to knock the rust off a little bit and get her ready for the distance races later on in the fall or in the winter.
Race number 2, we'll take a look at Bielefeld, finishing second last time out. This was a very unusual race because it featured a torrid duel, and Bielefeld was part of a lot of horses that took advantage of it. And this is a tough horse to come back, I assume, is probably the morning line favorite, right? It's hard to love anyone in here. Yeah, off of that trip in this race, it doesn't feature much pace, and obviously pace is a factor for you, and I picked the horse second as well, picking the 7, who figures to be the speed.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, KK Ichikawa getting up here saved some serious insanity insurance. I think your horse won a race. I left out of the pick 5. The thing was paying like $60,000. I had Bielefeld last time out. She ran well, but like you said, he ran well, but like you said, that pace kind of came back, and it was the kind of race where horses like KK Ichikawa just down the center and him making the move on the far turn. If there was a fast pace last time, man, this kind of looks like it's supposed to set up in an opposite fashion, doesn't it?
You would think. I mean, General on a Mission feels like the speed. I didn't put him. I was going to put him on top. I noticed you put him on top, and I figured we wouldn't pick the same 15-1 shot. I don't know if this horse is any good, but he actually didn't run that badly in his debut.
No.
Wasn't a terrible field either for a maiden 40.
Yeah, I agree. Just the race sprinting now stretches out. You would think that the mile on the 16th shouldn't be an issue out of a more than ready mare by Mission Impossible. I don't think the mile on the 16th is going to be an issue.
You don't.
No,
it did
I
run
don't.
6 first time out, and the horse tired, so I would
coming
say
back,
it could easily
coming back in
be
a
an
couple
issue.
of weeks. I like this horse a little bit today, especially the way the race looks like it's going to unfold.
It's a very hungry field, and I can't pick Bielefeld. I got the horse fourth. I wouldn't have him second here. I think he's a very good bet against a short price. Not saying he can't win. Problem is making cases for a lot of horses in here. See, one of the things I would be a little worried about with your horse General on a Mission is I'd be worried what Night Spot's going to do in this race. Don't you think Charlie Marquez is going to go with this horse a little bit who showed speed? So first foal is not really a screaming turf pedigree, but Orientate is a decent turf sire, so there is some pedigree. And I'd be a little bit worried that that's the kind of horse that could get in the way.
He's the only
7.
one. He's the only one that I worry about a little bit on the front end.
Well, I think he's a realistic worry on the front end. Well, what about You Said Hello? I mean, I know Eric Cancel doesn't go to the lead, but he actually has been a little more aggressive lately, and it's paid off for him with a few wins after sort of a disastrous Saratoga, a disastrous start of the meet. So maybe he is going to start being more aggressive and realize that was, his bread and butter when he was really riding well. So, well, I mean, that is a horse that was just off a pace on 22-1 and 45-3. I mean, he was ahead of General on a Mission. So in theory, he could be ahead of him here. I'm just saying, and you're assuming that Kendrick's going to lead.
He could be.
So those are things that worried me. I wish, Z Finale is the one that a lot of people are going to gravitate to. But once you watch his race, he's a very hard horse to take. And it seemed like the Bond horses they were going to fire were firing up there. There's Ringgold in the outside. So I just sort of went through hunting and pecking and I don't want this one, I don't want that one. And finally I thought, you know what? Which Way to Malibu's never been on the turf, is a 1/2-1 turf winner. It's much more of a dirt pedigree. But you know what? There's enough pedigree. This horse has run well enough in the dirt. Isn't going to take a lot of money in here. And I thought, you know what? All this horse has to do is like the grass a little bit, and he's just found the right field. I don't love him, but I was just looking for somebody else.
If this horse can take to the turf a little bit, this horse is obviously a player in here.
Right.
I don't disagree.
You would think. And it's just, I don't, not normally the kind I take, but he's not going to be a super short price. So why not? All right, race number 3. Race number 3 is a little bit tricky. We'll start out with the number 6, Overjoyed. And you know what? Might have been a dirt horse all along. I actually thought he ran pretty well in this race.
Wish I knew that 2 back.
Well, he's not a 1 3/8 turf horse either. It did? Because you were going to bet the winner of that race? No, you're going to find somebody to lose $100 out of that race anyway.
Bet as much as I did on her. I'll put it
whatever.
like that.
It was probably silly to bet a lot on her in that race. But she's actually ran pretty well. And I know that Spice's Nice Fig didn't really hold up over time, but they did a better race. And she just absolutely galloped here. I thought she was logical, so I put her on top. Nothing clever.
Yeah, no real knocks on her. I
have a question.
Sure.
Is Off Topic really going to be the 5-2 second choice? Off Topic looks
You and I
to
talked
be,
about this the last time.
I told you last time you
Oof.
should be concerned the
You were
sources left the
1,000%
left
right.
the
You
community.
weren't 100% right. You were 1,000% right. Yeah, I after her, really now her last 2 efforts, it's hard to have any confidence in her. But you know what?
Second choice?
She might
Who's
be.
going to bet her?
She might be. I mean, if you go through them wagering, let's just say for argument's sake, wagering was.
David's usually right on these
It's
things.
kind of hard to bet Foxtail off the turf form, right?
Well, no. I'm going to disagree with that. I don't like Foxtail. But people are going to see this horse, the 15-length win, a 6-length win. It's not like the figures were bad. I know those are phonied up races off the turf, 3-horse field, 4-horse field, no competition. I agree. By the way, Miss Marissa, remember we talked about how that may have been a legitimate race? Remember, I remember I was saying, I said it to Tom Amos. At first, you're a little critical, and I was texting with Tom and said, maybe that other filly just ran better than yours did, and she came back and won the Black-Eyed Susan. Good for Jimmy Ryerson.
Was having breakfast in Compton's up at Saratoga right after she won, and was sitting at the booth across from Jimmy. Congratulations. I know, obviously, Jimmy's been around here a long time, talking about it, and he's like, yeah, I'd like to run her again, but I might just wait and run her in the Black-Eyed Susan and let the chips fall with it. Maybe she's really come around. And he mentioned, you made a couple of comments, I guess, on Saratoga Live, and he was like, yeah, Andy's, he's like, I feel a little more confidence. Andy seems to think it could be a real race.
Well,
it could be
he
a real
he
race.
told me he was thinking of running in the Alabama. Was it around the
Yep,
Alabama?
it was.
And he said he was thinking of running there, but that race came up instead. And I thought, geez, Jimmy had the confidence to think to run in the Alabama. And, you know, he's been around some good horses. He trained Red Wild Song, among others.
He's got
And
a lot of good horses.
I thought,
Jimmy's
you know,
a really
and then
good
you know,
horseman.
I remember looking afterwards, and you know, it was disappointing with Risky Mandate. And we thought, you know, David Combs was aggressive, and I thought, you know what? I don't think David did anything wrong with this horse. He lost to a horse that just ran better.
That was nice to see yesterday too,
Yeah.
seeing Jimmy go
That was
down
great.
there and grab the money.
That was
right?
awesome.
Yeah.
I was really happy for that as well. Jen Emily and Indy Union, we'll take a look at them at Laurel, 2 back for Jen Emily, and last time 2 back for Indy Union. And I knew you were going to pick Indy Union in here because you may not be wrong. She may be a better one-turn horse.
I just think she's a better one-turn horse, and I think the mile and a 16th probably.
This was one turn too, by the way.
Right, yeah, the one-turn mile at Laurel. I think the mile and a 16th suits her better than Jen Emily. Jen Emily obviously beat her this day. I think Indy Union at the mile and a 16th at the one turn is likely at her best. Jen Emily probably a little stretched at the mile.
She is lucid here, though. I'm not. See, I don't like.
I wonder how much pressure. You see, I almost feel like Graceful Princess has to be forwardly ridden
you
in
could be
here.
right. You could be right.
Because her races from off the pace are awful, and her races when she's forwardly placed are much better.
That's fair.
I would think Jose Lascano is going to put a little pressure on. I don't know.
I mean, she runs one race for Todd off a 7-month layoff. She runs a, you know, not a huge figure, but it's a solid enough race, and it's a good building block for a horse with her pedigree. You know, obviously a horse of the year, Dam and Havre de Grace and Tappet.
You're putting her,
and then she's gone for another 6 months.
Right. And here's the 2 problems. There's 2 things. One, this horse ran for Todd Pletcher at Gulfstream Park. That's number 1. Now, she's run better at other places for other trainers, but her effort at Gulfstream, and let's be honest, some of her better efforts overall have come at Gulfstream Park. That's number 1. Number 2, if we're right, we're placing her chasing Jen Emily going a mile and a 6. I don't know if I want to be chasing.
David is almost always right in these lines. And we talk about them, and when I disagree, I'm right about 1 out of every 8, if I'm lucky. Do you think there will be 2 points difference between Graceful Princess and Off Topic?
Listen.
See, I would have listen. I'd be the world's worst morning line maker. I would have made Graceful Princess a shorter price.
So would I, but we probably are wrong.
I know. I'm assuming we are.
Right.
But I mean, wouldn't you rather take one off a big win, even if it was a layoff, than the one?
How much would you want on a prop bet 4 versus 2 in here, based on?
I would.
You know
maybe
what I mean?
Off Topic will find that form.
Maybe.
She used to be better than these horses, but not with my money. Race number 4. I don't have a lot to say about race number 4, other than to say that I had absolutely no idea in here. We'll show you the horse that at one time was better than these 2 races back when claimed by Dave Canizzo before getting eased on the dirt. Noble Thought ran a race. If this horse was, forget about the drop down and everything else, was meeting this group in somebody's backyard at a party, she'd be 1-9 off this race. But how can you trust her? He's eased on the dirt. He's actually got some durability. And now David's running the horse for a quarter after claiming it for $50,000. How can you trust this horse?
This horse has.
But he could bury this field.
Exactly 2 off-the-board finishes from 11 dirt starts, and one of them was eased last time out.
And now he's cutting in half.
Not for me.
So you're going to wire the field with the horse around the turf once? It's coming off a substantial layoff?
I'm going to try, man. You want to talk about a horse. Now, this one, you can make fun of me all you want with my pace. This horse is gone, isn't he?
You would think. There are speeds in here, but this horse is supposed to be in front.
He's faster
well,
than
except I'm going to say something else to you.
Okay.
Are you sure? How confident are you?
I'm not.
The horse hasn't run 8 months.
I'm not at all,
Christophe does not have great numbers off of trainer switches on the turf.
Andy, I'm not confident at all, but
he's supposed to be in front.
He's in front. He has one turf
wait
race on
a
his card.
second.
Who do you want in here?
Who do I want? What do I want? I wish that I could have a bourbon during this race instead. What do I want? This race gave me the biggest headache in the world. I ended up picking Siding Spring because he actually has 1 rating, and he has speed, so Dylan can put him into the race, and he can be effective. And I just took a shot that at least he's in decent form. I mean, I know you can make an excuse, but another was awful last time. The horse he dueled with finished 8.5 lengths ahead of him, was 12-1, and he's a sprinter. He was terrible last time. The race he won is kind of a phonied-up win. Catch a Cab, yeah, he's the logical horse. There's pace in here. He's going to stalk, but he was dreadful last time out. But maybe, just be fair, he was coming coming off of a week rest. So, I mean, you could make an excuse, but he's not that good anyway. Noble Thought, I can't trust him, but he can win this race. I've got Catch a Cab second. Luxy Ramsey, I guess, but is he going to bring that form from out of town?
See, Catch a Cab's the real logical horse in here.
But
He's also getting back to the place where he's done all of his winning. He's 4 for 12 at Belmont. He's 0 for 13 everywhere else. And
even that win back in July. See, the thing about that was, I wouldn't call this a hungry field. This is a field of I don't trust, I don't trust, I don't trust. But there are a lot of horses in this race that are better than Catch a Cab. You know what I mean? Like, I've got him second.
I think the proper way to, not to correct you, I think the proper way to say this there are a lot of horses in this race that were once a lot better than
that's
Catch a
fair.
Cab.
That's fair. Well, I mean, Siding Springs.
And I don't disagree.
What's wrong with Siding Springs recently?
If you look at all of these horses on the whole, he's the 6th best horse in the race. You're 1,000% right.
When Siding Spring ran poorly behind Noble Thought, he was dueling outside in the gold rail track, and Noble Thought was on the gold rail before angling out in the stretch. And I thought he ran very well in that hieroglyphics race. That was a quick pace, and he actually held on well.
I'm not going to say I feel confident, but I'm using the 4, 6, and 10.
Oh, you always feel confident.
I'm going to use the 4, 6, and 10 and try and get through this heat.
Race number 5. So what are we doing in here?
One.
This
is another one.
I like this race.
Anthony, I had a lot of trouble with this race.
If your horse wins this race, I give up. This is quite a pick for you. He's 100 to 1, but how is this horse going to beat this field?
I'm hoping he's just sitting off the pace. I'm hoping he's just sitting off what I think is a good pace, and he just picks them up. He inherits them. We thought the mile and a 16th. I thought the mile and 16th was going to be a problem last time.
And
maybe the mile and an eighth rather. Maybe the track carried him.
Well, this I'll defend got a terrible ride too.
He did, but it turned out to be his fastest race. And
on a sloppy track and an off the turf race up at Saratoga. Now he's going into this race. This is.
No, track was fast.
Oh, you're right. Okay.
Yeah, track was fast that day.
Off the turf.
I'm just hoping that I'm hoping he just sits the right trip and inherits. Again, I want to use a bunch of horses in here, so I picked the biggest price on top.
Okay, good luck. The horse probably to beat is Saratoga Pal. I don't totally trust him at a mile. I don't love these kind of stretch outs. This was a huge effort. He made a 4-wide run on a day that the rail was the place to be at Saratoga. He absolutely buried South Africa, who came back and broke his maiden, moving 3 Beyer points. Now, to be fair, he got a very soft trip when he came back, but he was also on a good rail at Saratoga. He also set a faster pace. But the reality is that this race was legit. This horse is good, and he's the horse to beat in here. They're
going to try and get
the
problem is the stretch out.
He's a stretch out, and he's got to be forward with a rider that never wants to be forward, and I don't know exactly how this race is going to work out. Now, some people might tell you that advance notice is the worst to beat on the outside. I've got him third by default.
Me too.
But there's something that reeks about this horse. This horse took absolutely no money. He beat a heavy favorite, but he took absolutely no money to race where there was nobody out as a first-time starter. And there was a lot of discussion by Maggie, people in the winner's circle, that they were shocked that this horse won. And sometimes a horse will surprise a lot of smart people, and it turns out they're just wrong, and the horse can get to the racetrack, and is a different horse in the racetrack. But I'm highly dubious of this horse. And the other thing is, how is this horse not part of what should be a contested pace?
If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? He's on a 44 and change half mile last time. Yeah, this race gave me.
He's supposed to want more distance. He's a curler.
You said you liked this race. This race gave me.
I love this race. I think there's a lot of horses that you don't really want in here. A lot of horses you don't want. I don't want Macho Jack. I don't want Fried Rice King. I don't particularly love Sneakiness in here, whose race got better on a wet track.
I'm with you on all
I don't
that.
think he's impossible. He's also part of an entry where I don't like Grit and Glory. Kumar should have won last time. Striking Speed, I think, is coming out of a phony race. So I think there's a lot of horses I don't want in this race. And that doesn't mean that I'm going to land on the ones that are right. And I think the 7 is the right horse. And obviously you have to throw the 9 in, though I don't want him at a short price. And listen, Teekman Flew is probably better at 7. But keep in mind that most of his 1 mile race stuff were 2-turn races. He's a 1-turn horse. And when he came to the 1-turn mile at Churchill, it was a sloppy track, and he clearly couldn't handle it at all. Last time out, he got a little lost in that race. And I'm thinking with the pace in the air, and Kendrick's got a race under his belt, I got to give my boy Teakwood Blue one more chance.
I
prefer him at 7, but to Mile, I'll give him a chance.
I left him for you. I'm using 2, 4, 7, 8, 9 to wrap up the early pick 4 and the early pick 5. He makes sense. I don't know. Like you said, he's probably a little bit better at the sprint distances and not the mile, but it is a one-turn mile. He's supposed to get a lot of pace. You mentioned him getting lost last time. Getting lost at 6 in a fast pace, he should be a lot better off if they go fast at the mile. I just don't know if he wants to go that far. But you're right. I mean, it's the Gotham. It's a race in the slop. I don't disagree.
We're going to take a break.
Late pick 5. 3 stakes coming up.
Be right back.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.
Welcome back to Talking Horses. He is the Big A, Anthony Stabile.
I am.
I'm not. Race number 6.
He's not.
Race number 6.
Come on. Come on.
Is it just a tough race? So you said, I'll take Christophe Clement?
Come on. You know, when I put the picks up yesterday morning, I was waiting for something yesterday, a text. I was waiting for
Let's talk about data analytics first before I ridicule you for picking Fresco. I always think of Fresco when I see this horse. There does appear to be some speed here. This horse cleared. I'm not sold on this horse. He was visually impressive getting it done.
She ran.
I don't have a huge amount of confidence in her, and she's going to be overbet with the connections, but I guess she's kind of the horse to beat.
She ran. I think you got to be a little. I think you have to have some confidence. Obviously, dynamics completely different going a 2-turn mile on the inner up there, up at Saratoga, as opposed to the 1-turn mile out of the chute here at Belmont. But the fact that she was able. I was right the first time. She was able to cross and clear and still finish up strong. I think that's got to give you confidence even from this draw today.
We'll see. I mean, I'd like to see him be aggressive again, the way this turf course has been playing. So, Fresco and Silky Blue met here at Belmont Park. We'll take a look at that. It's 3 back at 7 furlongs. So I think it's the more comparable race for these two horses. And Fresco had Silky Blue beaten, and Silky Blue came back. Now, this is one where I would bet David Aragona on the morning line.
Okay.
I don't know how he has Silky Blue at 6-1 and Fresco at 3-1. I know that Silky Blue is 18-1 this day, and Fresco was even money. I don't care. I don't think there's any chance that Fresco is half the price of this horse, and boy, do I hope he is. Fresco, to me, came back and beat a claiming field next time out, and that's being kind, and then was a dreadful 4th coming back 2 weeks later. Zip-Along was 3rd in that race. Now, maybe Fresco will be helped getting back to 1 turn, but at a short price, first of all, I like Silky Blue better. I think Silky Blue ran very well at the mile race Saratoga, chasing a pace that fell apart. 5.5 is probably too short, and this horse dropped completely out of the race with a rider that likes to drop completely out of races, and was off the rail in a rail-dominated race. I think that Fresco, that this horse, Silky Blue, is a much better bet than Fresco. I hope David's right about the odds. I don't believe he will be.
I do. I believe he will be.
You think Fresco? You picked Fresco, and you think this horse is going to be 3-1 in here? Because I like to book this horse at 3-1.
No, I don't know if she'll necessarily be 3-1, but I think the Chad Brown horse. I think Data Analytics is going to take more money than 5-1. Off of a big win up there. I have to imagine this horse is going to take some money. I would have to imagine the 8 Chocolate Cookie, who was 5-2 and 2-1 in her first two starts.
But she did also lose badly to.
She did, but she took money both times.
That's fair. That's
she's
fair.
bet both times. It's Jose and Todd Pletcher.
She's slow though. She's
yeah.
slow.
I'm not saying I like her. I'm just saying she's going to take money.
Even the Crescent Lady had a chance in this race. I mean, I know she's on the rail last
time. There's pace in here, right? Magnificent has to show some speed.
There's never pace around here. What do you do with the story of Kitten as you talk about pace? Are they going to go? Are they going to rate? I mean,
how can you rate, right? From out there, don't you have to just try and go? That's why I
think
she's been involved
in a lot of slow-paced races, but she's also been in front of faster-paced races at Belmont. I'll tell you what about her. I wouldn't bet her. I mean, you talk about a horse that has stolen victory or has found defeat from the jaws of victory. I mean, even
the last 2 times
she was home last time and she just got buried. Yeah, I mean, maybe
Very.
she clear. I don't know. She's got to go
Well, maybe
fast.
you know
to
what?
clear.
I mean, maybe that's the move. Maybe the move is to rip her off the pace and make one run from just off. I don't know.
You want to bet her at a short
No,
price to
no,
find
no,
that
no,
out?
no. I don't want to. I don't really. To be honest with you, she's the kind of horse where if she wins, I'm just happy there's a late pick 4 today. I can't use
No,
her
I
at that
can't use
price.
her. I can't use
She
her.
wins,
This is a tough race. This is a very tough race.
But she's one of the horses where she's going to be no worse than second choice or third choice. I just don't
What
want her.
about Kilkia? I know she beat a horse that keeps losing, keep waiting, but I thought her last race was okay, and she's improving. Marquette got a big week last week. She's a totally different horse in the turf. I didn't think she was impossible in here.
I don't think she's impossible at all. I think she has a big chance today.
I mean, there are a lot of horses in this race that can win.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. I don't want any part of Fresco at a short price. I'll tell you that.
Well,
Not
good
saying
luck.
she can't win. She's the infamous 5th pick, but I don't like her at a short price in this race. You know, just like the last race yesterday, that Asmussen horse was 2-1. Who was betting that bad horse in that field?
I mean, I don't know how
at
you
2 to
anoint
1?
the horse a bad horse.
At
No,
2
at
to
2 to
1.
1. That 2 to
You
1
want
is
to
not
bet
a
her
good
at
price.
9-2 or 5-1? Fine. I got no problem with that. But you really think that horse is going to win that race one every 3 times? Come on.
Picked the wrong Michelle Nevin first in the finale this week.
Well, that was a tough horse. Now, that horse got a very good ride by Kendrick. Who did he give that horse a good ride?
Kendrick put on a couple of really one
That
on
was
the
a,
lead
that
and
was
one
an
from off the
exceptionally
pace.
good ride because he
Kendrick
really
had a good day
stayed
yesterday.
and he really threaded the needle on the rail and made every right move on the right situation. Unfortunately, the Miss Grillo just completely fell apart. It was going to be such a strong race. There are some players, but it has changed a lot. We'll take a look at Plum Ali winning at Kentucky Downs. I'm skeptical. I still think there's better horses in here, but
Have your Dramamine ready right about now. There you go. And now.
She was impressive, but she beat
was.
nobody.
She was impressive in both. Impressive in
She
her
was.
maiden win at Saratoga.
She
Impressive
was.
in this stakes race.
Isn't this a
Yeah.
tougher? Isn't this a tougher spot?
It is. It is, but she's 2 for 2. I mean, I thought she improved from her maiden win to that race.
But you didn't pick her.
I didn't pick her.
You did not pick her. I picked this horse, Caldi. I would have shown the 9s replay if I knew we were going to lose all those replays, but I had so many
That's
that
okay.
I left that one out. I understand this horse had the run of the race, but let me say a couple of things. You can have the run of a race and still run well. Black Sand, who finished 3rd, was a highly touted horse. This horse completely ran away from her. And, pardon me, but isn't this horse going to be the main speed today?
Well, she's supposed to be.
Well, she is.
What are they going to do with Mashni girl? I
Finished
think
last,
that's
but,
well,
but
that's
she's
I'm
not.
talking about for the first half
Anthony,
mile.
she's slow. Director's Cut is the horse that could run with her, I think.
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, listen, to be fair, Caldi didn't set a particularly fast pace last time. I think Javier will be in front in this race, and I think Caldi's going to wire the field. And that's my position. I'm sticking to it.
I think the other 5 riders in this race that are not riding Caldi should go and watch the Pilgrim from yesterday.
It's not. I'm
and
not
try
saying
not to allow that to happen.
I'm not saying she's going to go 25-51. Here's the problem, Anthony. She might be the best horse in the race
Could
too.
be.
So it's not just.
there's no arguing
I'm
that.
not trying to get some.
No, you're not.
Some 4th best horse home in a 5-horse field. I'm
No,
trying to
you're
get
not.
possibly the best horse home because she really did run well that day, and I'm not going to deny it.
She was slow early, but she finished up nicely, and she didn't. She was running away from horses that were trying to make up ground late in the game, and she just put them away. I don't disagree with you. I don't
like Director's Cut, who I think was running against inferior horses in Florida. Editor at Large, I'm sorry I don't have the replay. I do think Editor at Large ran well in this race. Now, does it bother you at all that Dominant Expertise ran poorly at Pimlico yesterday?
not off of that ride. It does not. The ride wasn't great. I
I
don't think the ride was
By
great.
the way, I don't think they were upset the horse went to the front.
Okay.
I was,
All right.
but
Well, I mean, that could be the plan going in, but coming out, I don't think it was the best idea.
well, the turf was also soft.
Yeah. In any event, I mean, she made up a lot of ground into a slow pace first time out. This filly, I'm always impressed by that. Which gives me the confidence that if they try to slow it, if Caldi tries to slow it down on the front end, maybe she could. Now, obviously,
But
she's
they're-
facing a tougher bunch. I get that, but
Oh, I don't think this horse is impossible.
Yeah,
at
I'm
all.
hoping for a little help
I
up
picked her
front
second.
and-
I think she
yeah.
can win. Yeah. I'm not. I mean, I don't listen. I'm not going to be shocked if the 8 wins this race. I'll
Me
use
either.
4-9-8, 4-8-9.
Me too.
I'm not
That's
going
what I'm doing.
do anything
I'm
clever
not trying to be
here.
a
It's not
hero.
like that.
Yeah, I'm using a 4, 8, and 9.
Yeah.
That's it.
Race was changed by scratches. Race number 8. I'm excited to see both Latruska and Dunbar Road back. We'll look at Dunbar Road winning the Delaware Cup, and obviously she met nobody in this race, and she won very, very easily. Does it worry you that she had an issue and she was out for the summer?
So the story is an entrapped epiglottis, which was corrected with a tied-back surgery. So, and it's very confusing if you watch any of her races, quite frankly, to think that she suffered from that ailment, which a lot of horses do, because when more often than not, when horses suffer from that, they stop on the dime somewhere around the 3/4 pole or the 3/8 pole or wherever it may be, and she's never done that. It's actually a testament to Chad and his team to catch that in the morning, because that's tough to catch too.
I know that you have a big thing for this horse.
I think she's...
Is she really as good as you think she is?
I think she's better than I think she is.
Well, no, she's not better than you think she is, because you actually think that she could have won the Arc today, flown over back here in the Concorde, and won this race. So she's not better
There's no
than
more
you think
Concordes,
she is.
Andy.
Yeah, well, she would have built one. She'd have left Longchamp, built
Peter,
one with her hooves,
Peter.
and flown over here and won this race, because you've got, I mean, believe me, I'm not the only one that thinks you may have an unrealistic opinion of this horse.
I have a tremendous amount of love for this horse.
I know. That's fine. That's fine. And listen, we all have horses that we think are better than they are. I certainly do, too. I think she's a very nice horse. I worry about missing the time. Obviously, I'm rooting for her to do well, for Chad and for Peter Brand as well. But I think that she's meeting a buzzsaw in Latruska.
I'll tell you what, when the late scratches came out, when the scratches came out...
Well, you knew Nona Mato was coming out, because she's entered in some race in Monmouth on Wednesday.
Right. Doesn't mean she has to come out.
You knew she was.
But she did. And now any worries that Latruska had about being pressured are gone.
Nona Madeline couldn't run with Latruska. Latruska's a bullet. We'll take a look at her race in the Shoe V. She's an awesome horse. I love her. Now, obviously, she is not beating horses like Dunbar Road. But this was not a bad field. And she just kept on running. I was very impressed with this horse. And it's not like this race came out of nowhere. I'm looking forward to this race, because I like both of these horses. I like Dunbar Road and I like this horse, and I'm just looking forward to this race.
The big question I have on her is she an in-and-out horse? And her PPs kind of lend that she's maybe a little bit of an in-and-out
really?
horse.
You think that there was an out race when she chased Serengeti Empress in the 7-furlong ballerina in 21-3 and 43-3?
No, but I don't think...
No, there was nothing wrong with that effort.
No, but I don't think it was as good as the race before or the race after.
It was pretty close. I disagree with that notion.
You can disagree with it. That's how I feel. Listen, she has not faced
Dunbar Road.
The likes of
but
this.
Dunbar Road is also coming off of a 3-month layoff and didn't run a race. And they want to be in the Breeders' Cup. And I'm not saying they don't want to be in the Beldame, but they want to get this horse for the Breeders' Cup. And Latruska, they want to the Breeders' Cup too, but this Beldame is a very important race for her. And now we have your favorite horse, Point of Honor, that you've finally gotten away from. Let me ask you a question, and we're going to take a look at her embarrassing loss in the Ogden Phipps. You want to finally agree with me that she's not a two-turn horse?
I mean, I was just repeating what George Weaver said. That's what he said. He was looking forward to the 2 turns. I didn't say anything.
He should be looking.
You know me with
horses, you know what they should do with
horses with her running style. It made no sense to me that she's supposed to love Belmont Park in the 1 turn.
Well, she does.
She does.
Listen, let me say something. She's a really, really good horse. I don't want to
is.
sit up here and act like I think she's some sort of
But
bum.
she's the one.
But she's got some phony in her. She was supposed to win this race.
And when you combine that with the fact that
pace,
she's up against it on the pace.
Talent and pace.
Yeah.
And Dunbar Road can be a bit closer than she can. Let me ask you a question. If you own Point of Honor, assuming she runs okay today, what would you do with her in the next start? Because I have a strong opinion on this.
You're going to say something a little outside the box, and I know how you think, and I don't disagree with you. Run her in a Breeders' Cup Classic.
No. No, you're done. What do you want, heroin?
You just hope the
what do you
horse-
like?
you
Did
just-
you
listen,
drop some acid
there's a
before the show?
lot that-
No,
well, where
you
would you
run her
run
in
her?
the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint. How do you know me as well as you know
the
me
Philly-
and not
'cause
realize that's
because I don't think
mile
she
and a quarter?
wants-
Mile and a quarter. She could be 50.
I
No.
don't think she wants to.
But
You
you're
think she
wrong.
wants a sprint?
Why not? Why not? What's wrong with her?
I
She's
don't
going to
know
get a
about
wicked.
sprinting,
She's going to get a
man.
wicked pace in that race. And let me ask you a
You
question.
know how far back she'll be at the 3/8 pole in a Breeders' Cup
What do
Filly
I
and
care
Mare
about? What do I
Sprint?
care how far back she is in the 3/8 pole? Why does that bother me? I care about how far back they are to the finish.
You want to take a horse you think has some hang in her?
Well, let me ask you a question. You actually drunkenly suggested that I said that she run the Breeders' Cup Classic.
Yeah.
She'll be 1/10 the price of the Breeders' Cup Sprint. She would be like 7,000
I'm
to
not
1. They have to
saying
build a
that,
new tote for her.
Well, the only reason I said that because I figured you were talking Breeders' Cup, and I couldn't imagine her running 7/8.
A fast-paced one-turn race suits her much better than the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare, the Distaff.
At Keeneland?
So what?
I don't know if there is a Breeders' Cup race for her. You know that?
That may be the case, but if they're going to run her, they should run her.
Well, that's why I thought maybe you were just going to get goofy and run her.
I think Horologist isn't terrible, but we'll see. She just has that one big race. Can she run back to that?
And she's a far different horse at Monmouth Park than she is anywhere else. So I think she's 5 for 5 now at Monmouth Park.
But a race at Oaklawn weren't. At Laurel,
okay.
Race at Laurel was okay. I don't know.
She turns into
race
a win
number
machine
9, the Belmont
at the
Turf
Jersey
Sprint
Shore.
Invitational. Let's start with Archidust, who you've got under. You threw me. You made this pick. Anthony admitted. I texted Anthony. I said, "Oh my God, you don't even have to handicap the Turf Sprint Invitational. You got Chewing Gum and Fog of War in this race. You could just pick them 1, 2." So Anthony got mad at me. So he picked somebody else.
I want the horse that's going to be closest to Big Wonder early on. That's who I want.
Well, isn't that Battle Station?
Yeah.
You think Eric can't sell me in front of Henrik Carmouche?
I think it's one of the two.
You definitely are using
I think it's
hallucinogens.
one of the two. I'm using all 4 horses for that reason. I think the race kind of has to line up 6-5-8 or 6-8-5.
But you don't like Big Wonder. I just want to be clear. I want your position of Big Wonder.
I don't like Big Wonder, no. I don't like Big Wonder.
I got no problem with this horse. He's always been a good horse. I remember when this horse won at Saratoga talking to Javier after the race.
You took Chewing Gum today?
You didn't.
Oh,
well,
my
no,
God.
I picked Pulsate.
Oh, okay.
And
yeah, well,
I was going to
course.
scratch into Archidust. I did not want to take Archidust as the favorite. That's why I picked against the horse. And I didn't want to scratch into him. I have no issue with him. He's the horse
You think
to beat.
he's going to be favored, Archidust?
Yes.
Even off the Monmouth races?
Yes.
Okay.
There's nothing but run fast races.
You don't think he's going to be a short? You don't think he's going to be a short favorite?
You know what,
do you?
Ben? Let's skip the next replay. I don't need to see that replay of the Lucky Coin, if that's okay. Can we show the Chewing Gum back to his roots race here at Belmont Park? The third replay, I screwed up.
I like watching this one.
Chewing Gum is a horse that's much better suited to sprints. He easily beat Back to Roots here. Now, the argument with Back to Roots is he's improved since then, and that's fair. The problem I have is I'm not totally convinced. He was on a moderate pace 2 back, and last time out he got a very fast pace that fell apart. Mata didn't get a particularly good trip, and he beat Gould, who came back and ran badly. Whereas Chewing Gum just devoured them in the stretch in this race. Then they tried 7. Well, geez, he only lost by a length 3/4 to front run the Fed.
Yeah.
Came back and ran that huge race in that sprint. Then they tried the Troy. Well, that race was completely dominating the front end. He had absolutely no chance in that race. Then they tried the 4-star Dave. Another race, by the way, dominating the front end. And let me say something else about the 4-star Dave. He did save ground, but he had no chance in a mile. Now he's cutting back to what he wants to do. We talked after the 4-star Dave about a trio of Chad Brown horses in that race. Uni, Raging Bull, and Without Parole. And as I said after the race, I felt that all 3 of them were badly compromised because the course very much favored inside runners, as did the race, and all 3 of them made outside runs in the stretch, and they all completely floundered in the stretch. They came back to win a Grade 1 and run 2nd and 3rd in a Grade 1 that day. So they were compromised. Now, Chewing Gum wasn't compromised because he was down towards the inside, but he's not a miler anyway,
No.
so who cares? And now he's cutting back to what he wants to do. Now, the pace is a bit murky here, and that worries me.
Yeah, that's
That
his
concerns
biggest
me.
problem is the pace. That's his biggest problem.
Or second.
Of course I do. You going to be 10 to 1 on Fog of War today?
Well, what price should he be in here? Well, first of all, he's not going to be 10 to 1. Well,
No.
I guess Pulsate wasn't that short a price.
Yeah.
Price was Pulsate here. 6 to 1. Chad, I think, is getting a little just sort of taking a shot, right?
Well, I mean,
He's taking a shot.
yeah, his debut going 5.5 was good.
Not good enough to win this.
No,
He's obviously had a lot of issues. I've got him 4th. I wouldn't leave him out because he obviously
I
has
should
some
have
talent.
wore green today. Dunbar, Fog of War.
Could have worn Joe Applebaum's favorite shirt.
I should have wore that today. I didn't think.
Well, you didn't know Sauce Sass was going to win the Arc.
I
You had any
didn't plan-
confidence?
I didn't plan ahead.
I bet $20 on Sauce Sass.
Good.
I'd have root
I didn't plan ahead.
for the home team.
Maybe if my $30 in the account, I would have bet it.
And not 3. What about Holiday Stone? Am I ridiculous to have him somewhere in there? I always thought this horse had some ability. He ran big last time. He really
It
did.
is very hard to knock anyone in here.
It's a little tough to like a few horses in here.
Yeah.
What about Battle Station? Is he totally impossible?
Not how can
he had a perfect trip last time.
Right, but if you think he's going to. But what's to say he doesn't work out another way? If he's
Well,
going to
maybe
sit
sitting
second to
on
Big Wonder,
yeah,
I mean,
no,
you're not going to draw up a better trip than that. That's why, to me,
No, that's fair.
you know, Archer Dust
Jesus.
Archer Dust is going to get a good trip.
Blowing my ear out with the Fox.
I wish I could be a little more. I wish I could be a little more definitive in here and decisive in here, but I'm single on Dunbar Road, so I can afford to spread a little bit in here.
Greg Wolf is getting ready to do the show with Richie 12:30 to 6 today. Greg did the 9:30 to 11 show of the Arc. Greg's played a full day. I think he slept in the studio, actually, last night. It's a fun race because they're Archdust the horse to beat, he and Chewing Gum, but neither one of them have to win this race. I'm sorry, my
Nothing will be more 2020 by the way if Big Wonder just kept going today, wouldn't it? That would be something.
I don't know. Can we give a little love to Ken McPeak and that filly?
11 races in 10 and a half months, 9 different racetracks, 7 different riders. I think it's 5 different distances. They don't make them like that.
Let me tell you something.
You know what? They make them like that. They just don't get tested
run
like that
yeah.
anymore.
And Authentic ran. She just beat him. Great ride by Robbie Alvarado.
Great ride by Robbie Alvarado.
That was some horse race.
How about the price you got on her?
You know, that I picked her 4th, and we were on the air, Greg and I said to Greg, how is she 11 to 1?
I was with Phil and a few friends yesterday, and
I thought she'd be 4 to 1
my
in there.
buddy Felix said to me, he goes, "How is she 11?" I said,
She was twice the price of 1,000 words with zero chance.
How much money would you have taken on a prop bet, Swiss Skydiver versus 1,000 words?
A lot.
They were giving you they're basically telling you that was 2 to 1.
So race number 10. Well, we're doing this again on Thursday. We got to stop. We got to stop closing out these. I didn't play the pick 4 or pick 5 yesterday because I'm not closing out into these races. Now, there's a little more form in this race, but not a lot. This isn't. I don't like this. I don't think this is fair. Anyhow, what'd you do? Oh, you took Christoph.
I went to Christoph. I went to Phantom Smoke. Heard this horse could run a little bit.
Well, okay, because West Point owns them, so of course they
I didn't hear from West Point.
Doesn't matter. This horse worked 9 4/5 the 2-year-old sale, and has a dam that was a nice turf producer and only sold for $200,000. Something stinks.
Okay.
Something's rotten in Denmark.
Fine. You got it, Hamlet.
You know what I mean?
Tell you here.
Am I wrong about that?
No. Nope.
$85,000 to breed the Ghost Zapper. A dam who was an effective runner. The horse works 9 4/5 the sale and only goes for $200,000. I picked the horse second. I hear you. I don't know. I'm going to try my boy Data Deal. That pace came apart in that race.
Yeah, it did.
And horses have run okay out of that race.
Didn't
I
like
liked them
Duke
last
came
time.
back to win on the dirt.
I'm going to go with Data Deal one more time. I just
Okay.
wanted somebody else. At least the horse has some experience on the turf. Who are some others we should mention here? Who's the 10?
Debo.
Yeah. See, my theory in yesterday's race is the same with Debo, who I have 4th, is that Steve Asmussen has terrible numbers with his 2-year-old first-time starters in turf sprints, which leads me to believe when you've got a trainer that's as exceptional as he is with 2-year-olds, that he's running his worst horses in those races.
That's fair enough.
That's why I stay away from those horses. Listen, I've got the horse 4th. I'm not taking a big stand, but
You got the right horse with Data Deal. I think you got to use Cotton, 2 dirt sprints now.
I know.
Sticking with a turf sprint.
I hate those, though, because they get better if they're dirt form. What about Iwo Jima?
Using.
What about Iwo Jima? You got to use
using.
those, right? I don't like there's a 4-year gap from the
I'm
last
using
bowl to
2.
this one.
Yeah, and then before that, I think there was a 3-year gap.
What about Be Yourself? Do you think it's a little odd that Be Yourself has Joey Martinez? I don't want to be too tough on Joey, but John Terranova's go-to rider is not Joey Martinez. And this horse has plenty of pedigree. The Dam was a turf winner. She's a nice horse for John. It's a homebred, a kitten's joy.
You have no Arad Ortiz, Joel Rosario, John Velasquez, nobody here. Room gets a little thin. Hit me. Come on.
Anthony. Room doesn't get that thin.
How many guys you think are downstairs? It's 12 votes field.
It's 10
12.
originally. I hear you.
How
If
many-
they loved
how many
the
guys you
horse,
think are
if they
down there?
loved the horse, don't you think somebody would be riding this? Or maybe they love the horse that thinking we're going to pull a fast one and fool idiots like Andy.
Again, who's going to?
Oh, we got to go.
Okay.
Go to Naira Bets. If you're not a member of Naira Bets, head on over. Match 200. We'll match them to $200 your initial deposit. Support racing in New York. Sign up and play through Naira Bets. 50-50 with Lone Star and Belmont through the app only. Bet 50 or more at each track. $10 bonus. We're done. Johnny I is up next with a reprise. The Scratches.